And if CNN's like, nah, we want to bend the knee even farther down, it really is a terrifying time for the rest of us in media.
Francesca Fiorentini and Wajahat broke down this story of CNN bending the knee to Donald Trump and MAGA. We've already seen some of this in mainstream media. We're probably going to see a lot more. It's concerning, to say the least, but we're going to take a look at these clips of Francesca and Wajahat. I'm going to share my thoughts on this too. Let's get into it together.
A former CNN host, Jim Acosta. This is quite chilling. I found it very chilling because if you guys remember, Jim Acosta was sort of a stalwart of the first Trump administration and sort of landed him, a primetime role, news anchor role on CNN in the first place. He was constantly in the press room. Mm-hmm. No, he wasn't a TikTok influencer and or blogger, as Caroline Leavitt now wants to allow in. He was actually doing his job, and he was stepping to Trump, and he was one of the few. The media they were feeling themselves in the first administration. Let's be real. And now they're not feeling themselves. They're feeling Trump. And so this week, Jim Acosta found out that his time slot was being moved to midnight. And look.
Because that's when all the kids watch midnight. That's when you get all the people who are high on meth and have passed out on their couch. The huge demographic of America, right? Midnight.
It was a clear attempt to push him out. And instead of, honestly, like our last guest, Mehdi Hasan, and the founder of this show, instead of accepting being, sort of sidelined, he was like, nah, peace. And he had this to say on his way out.
I just wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment
probably a low light.
Came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too.
People are going to be looking at Jim Acosta's social media. Sounds like he's doing cameos, any little pep talk cameos pretty soon. But the reason I want to highlight...
sorry, go ahead, Francesca.
Oh, just really quickly, I wanted to highlight it because it really is. If they're trying to sideline Jim Acosta, a guy who, you saw it there, he's calling Raul Castro a dictator. This is no crazy leftist. This is no, anti-establishment weirdo. And he was like, he's the bread and butter of CNN for a long time there in the first Trump administration. People tuned in to watch him step to Trump. And if CNN's like, nah, we want to bend the knee even farther down, it really is a terrifying time for the rest of us in media.
Yeah, no, and not just for the rest of us in media, Donald Trump, who's totally not fickle and has a lot of important things to do. Oh, wait, he found a time to attack Acosta. Really good news. Jim Acosta, one of the worst, most dishonest reporters in journalistic history, major sleazebag, has been relegated by CNN fake news to midnight hour Death Valley because of extraordinarily bad ratings, no talent. Word is that he wants to quit, and that would be even better. Jim is a major loser who will fail no matter where he ends up. Good luck, Jim.
I love the good luck, Jim, at the end. And this is the thing this is no surprise anymore because this is just who Donald Trump is, this petty figure. But you just think of previous presidents, Obama and, George W. Bush. George W. Bush, he wasn't just every day critiquing and crying about various media figures and reporters, what they had to say about him. He was just doing his work. But I've said this many, many times on this channel and on my videos, we've never seen a crybaby the likes of Donald Trump. And in terms of CNN itself, again, it's laughable that, you know, how long has CNN been labeled by the right-wingers? You know, they call it the Communist News Network, and, you know, it's just like there's all these socialists working there. And we have somebody like Francesca Fiorentini is saying, just a mainstream host on a 24-hour news channel pushing back a little bit. And CNN is like, we're going to move you to midnight, and then he quits. We need more who will do at least the bare minimum, like Jim Acosta at the major networks and the 24-hour channels, because the media is just going to bend the knee further and further and further for Trump and MAGA.
Exact. From Social Post. I want to say this before we get to some good news. Guess who CNN still has? Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings, the man who tried to sanewash Elon Musk's Nazi salute. Folks, it was a Nazi salute. He gave it from the heart. Last show we had, I think, Catherine Rampell. She called him out on it, asked him to do it live on air. He refused to do it. Scott Jennings, who is paid by CNN very well, very handsomely, to be a troll. He is the Rick Santorum.
You think he gets paid really well?
Lords. He gets paid very well. I used to debate him.
Terrifying.
I was on CNN. He is doing his job, folks. CNN pays him, to use a wrestling term, to be a heel. And he sits there every day and he smiles on his face. And as he said, apparently off the record, I'm having a lot of fun to throw sand in the gears, to whitewash and sanewash Trump, to promote and launder MAGA talking points. But Jim Acosta, apparently a bridge too far for CNN.
And if you're not familiar with Scott Jennings, I want to play a clip of him and reference what he's talking about here so you can see what a troll this guy is and the kind of behavior that he displays on CNN.
No, the second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote. You know, that was a little iffy. By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis. I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm saying the Nazis think he's a Nazi, which they very clearly did at this event. And these words were not said in a vacuum. As you pointed out, the leaders of AfD have embraced, in many cases, the Nazi heritage. They have wanted to take down the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin, saying it is inappropriate to recognize this horrific chapter in German history. And I just think it's horrific. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting the benefit of the doubt, whether or not he believes this stuff personally.
You didn't even mention the Nazi jokes he was making on Twitter. That actually got
he's been
ADL
given so many chances
about it.
Yeah.
I was hearing a lot of sighing. Scott, what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we've moved on from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement syndrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to defend his saying the Germans get to...
Let me let him finish, Catherine.
I love this game we play where you talk for 2 minutes, I talk for 3 seconds,
ahead,
and you
Scott.
freak out. So he has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sieg Heil, which I just heard you say, you know, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no circumstances.
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Under no circumstances
was
he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three. Number three. I think it is fully appropriate, and I, of course, have been the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network for over a year, since October the 7th.
Is that true?
To remember the Holocaust and to remember the atrocities committed against the Jewish people. And I also think it's appropriate to remember the atrocities committed against them right now. And it seems to me, let me just finish my point.
No, I won't let you change the subject.
It seems to me.
Let's address what we're talking about.
I'm trying to finish my point.
As the Jew at this table,
I'm trying to finish my point.
I would say
the people who are most concerned about and most all over Elon Musk today have had nary a word for the Nazis on college campuses who've gone crazy for the last year and a half.
That is bull.
So this gives you an idea of who this Scott Jennings is. And it's amazing to me how many of these smarmy, smirky, smug pricks like this guy there are on TV. And it's almost like they just make them in a factory. And it's like, hey, let's dial up the smugness to 11, but also that people like these guys. You know, I have friends that I grew up with who are kind, decent people, but are conservatives. And you'll talk to them and they'll be like, oh, did you see that clip from Tucker the other night? That was great. I love it. You know, how he sticks it to the left, you know, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, these are friends that I know that if they worked with somebody like Tucker Carlson, if they saw him coming, they would turn the other way or, you know, hide around a corner so they wouldn't have to talk to him. Or if their sister was dating Tucker Carlson, they would be like, I'm going to dinner with my sister and her prick boyfriend, Tucker. I hate that guy. You know, they wouldn't want these smarmy, you know, they're just one giant smirk, you know, all of these guys. And it's just amazing to me that people fall for that and buy into that. You know, I think you could have people saying like, I think taxes should be low or whatever, and appealing to these right-wing, you know, conservative views without them being such douchebags. Anybody agree with me on that? I mean, do you have people in your life who like these various characters? You know, Scott Jennings, Tucker Carlson, Jesse Waters. I mean, they're just one giant smirk. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. Let me know what you think about Francesca Fiorentini. She's on this Zateo channel that Mehdi Hassan has started. And so maybe she's going to really start to move away from TYT. Who knows? But let me know what you think about all of this, including Francesca Fiorentini. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next video.